make sure I ain't tripping. First, these white babies, mama and daddy.
Now, I'm gonna let you. This guy, he's gonna use a little bit of profanity, all right? But I'm gonna try to turn it down just a little bit. But I need you to see this, all right? Guy sitting at home watching the baby channel, and this is what he observes. Watch this.
Baby in bed. It's on the baby channel. Here go the white baby. Take care.
Oh.
What the fuck is this?
Oh, he gonna stop playing.
You see this?
This is the shit they teaching our kids. Why the fuck is the two men bathing these motherfucking babies? I look at the little baby girl. Come on now.
You see this?
There they go. So this is a form of genocide.
Yeah. Both of the black parents. Come on now. Now this is the kicker. Yeah, that's the bullshit.
So you see this. This is not somebody's conspiracy theory or somebody's imagining. You see what's going on. This is deliberate. Okay? It's like Brother Nassim said, it's genocide. Because if I turn you against your natural mate, you don't reproduce. Okay? But the bigger kicker here is the programming. Because you have, who's watching the baby channel? Children, young children. So they're seeing this at an early age, so it's being normalized to them. Okay? But now watch. Let me go back. I'll show you what I'm talking about.
The children's series Arthur had its second.
Now, this is Arthur. This is a television series for kids. Alright? So watch what they're doing.
Season premiere yesterday, and viewers got a surprise. The kids found out that their teacher, Mr. Ratburn, was getting married, but they didn't know who he was marrying.
Yeah, and after they spotted him with a woman named Patty, who wasn't very nice, they vowed to stop the wedding. Then they found out his real partner, it was a man. The show featured a same-sex wedding.
There they go.
Go on. You can say anything you like.
Oh, this ain't just going on in America. This is in Canada. This is all over.
Oh yeah, it's global.
No,
Yeah.
No, this is the same. No, this is the same author that. Let me see something. See if this is the.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, it's not.
Canada.
Oh, not the right.
It's all over the world.
It's all over.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's all over. And as a matter of fact, see, people don't realize that Obama made a lot of trips to Africa.
Open the door for him.
Right, but he made a lot of trips to Africa.
Yeah.
And he was pushing homosexuality on Africa.
They kicked him out.
Well, they was telling him, look,
Get out of here.
yeah, but then they was threatening him. They said, well, if you don't accept these ideas, then we're going to take away aid. And that's the game. Okay? That's the game.
African countries didn't go for that, did they?
Say again?
A lot of those
No.
African countries, they didn't go for
They
that. They
didn't.
told them to get out of here.
Mm-hmm. Right, you keep your money.
Right.
But now this is the next thing I want. But see, but we really got to think about it. There was I showed a video one time with I think he's a psychiatrist or he's an activist, but he was saying that, no, he's a scientist, and he was saying that the first 7 years of a child's life is very important because they're like sponges, they absorb everything, all right? So they know it's important to get this stuff implanted in children's mind at a young age, okay? There's even a biblical verse that talks about raising a child up in the ways of the Lord at a young age, okay? But now watch this. Watch what happens here. This is a grandfather going up to a school.
Yeah, she called me and told me that she had an issue up here about my grandson being in the dress. I'm trying to see what the issue is about that.
Okay, you'll have to talk to Dara.
Who's
the
Dara?
director down in the other class.
Is she the one that was in charge of the kids while my
I
grandson?
was, but I can't talk to you.
Why?
Because you're not on the form. We'll have to get Dara up here and she will let that means.
I mean, first of all, I'm coming down here because we don't do that. The transgender and all that, we don't do that. And I don't appreciate you encouraging it.
And it's funny, if you look in the back of the room, right? Look on the right hand side. Look on the wall.
Yeah, I see the cross up there.
Right. So this might be a little Christian pre-K, okay? But now he's upset because his daughter called him and said, "Hey, look, they put my son in the dress." So he went up to the school to see about, hey, what's going on with this? Nobody gave you permission to put my grandchild in the dress.
Oh, the school with the little boy in the dress?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought some other parents sent their child.
No, they put him in the dress. All right. But now watch.
On no dress for the second day too. I don't appreciate
the second day.
And don't think this is going away. I'm going further with this.
Okay, go down and talk
No, I'm not done talking to you. I'm letting you know the next time that you put any kid in a dress, we're gonna make you go viral.
You need to talk to my director. Is it? I, as a teacher.
No, I'm letting you know I got an issue with you about that. I'm not playing with you.
I'm sorry that you feel that way.
Yeah, I'm sorry that you feel that way. But you should have called me before you make a decision to put my grandson in a dress. No, I'm speaking to you.
Please do not talk to me in that tone with my children.
I wouldn't be up here if you wouldn't put my grandson in no dress. Well, do what you gotta do. No, I'm taking it up with you.
Please lower your voice during class.
I'm taking it up with you. Well, you shouldn't have put my grandson in no dress.
She said, he's 2.
He's 2?
Yeah. He's 2. Like, it's something wrong with him. Because the boy is 2 years old.
Right, because he got a problem with that.
Yeah.
He better than me.
Oh, wait, all right?
I'll be in jail.
Well, wait a minute. First, I thought when you said he put him in a dress that he was in a school play or something.
No.
See, I was thinking it was somebody else who sent their kids. See, we can't even imagine that somebody put
Right.
little boy in
In the dress.
They just got put to have a transgender come to the school.
Right. But even if it was a play, why would you
Right.
gotta
Why
get
would you-
permission?
Exactly.
I'm listening.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was worse than that.
Yeah.
Why a little boy gotta play a little girl?
Right.
Yeah, they got it in the curriculum there.
Parents are not happy with
Now, this next name, all right? Yeah, this one. All right. Years ago, I read an article where they were saying that in Chicago, they were going to make sex education classes mandatory for kindergartners. All right? Mandatory for kindergartners because they want to program. They want to put certain ideas in their heads. Okay? But now watch. This is what it is.
School Academy for having transgender discussions in a kindergarten class.
And these parents feel betrayed by the school district, that they were not notified.
Those discussions were earlier this summer during the last few days of the academic school year.
CBS 13's Sharon Roget joins us live from Rockland, where a school board meeting just wrapped up. Sharon.
Sam and Adrian, it was quite an emotional board meeting at Rockland Academy tonight, and it was standing room only, with parents and teachers speaking out tonight about a teacher who read books to her kindergartner class, and also during that time, that kindergartner was going through a transition in front of her peers, and tonight that teacher spoke out.
I'm saying the kindergartner was transitioning. A kindergartner. Okay? This is the madness from the whispers of Shaitan. Okay?
I'll share it over and over again as how proud I was of my students.
An emotional Rockland Academy teacher addressing a packed house of parents, many furious about her decision to discuss the topic of gender identity inside her kindergarten class.
It was never my intent to harm any students, only to support them through a difficult situation.
The teacher defended her actions to read 2 books she says were given to her by a transgender child going through a transition.
The kindergartners came home very confused about whether or not you can pick your gender, whether or not they really were a boy or a girl.
Parents say besides the books, the transgender student at some point during class also changed clothes and was revealed as her true gender. And many parents say they feel betrayed and blindsided.
I want her to hear from me as a parent.
And that's it. This is a job for the parents, not for the school.
Right.
Okay.
Her gender identity means to her and to our family. Not from a book that may be controversial. My daughter went home crying, shaking, so afraid that she would turn into a boy.
The issue was not on the agenda, so parents spoke out during Monday night's public comment.
It's really about the parents being informed and involved and, giving us the choice and the rights about, what's getting introduced to our kids and at what age.
Many teachers also speaking out in support of what transpired inside the classroom on the last days of the academic year.
Head in the direction of banned books or book lists or selected literature that should only be read inside or outside of the classroom. I think that's a very dangerous direction to go.
Now, remind me to show you one of the books that they have for 10-year-olds I think came from Planned Parenthood, all right? But when she talks about, she's trying to say, when we start talking about banning books, it gets dangerous. But I want you to see some of the stuff that's in some of these books that they have for our children, all right? But now,
Thank you, Brian. A crucial vote in California over one school district's plan to require students starting in kindergarten to learn about gays, lesbians, and transgender people. The controversy plan is all part of the Alameda Unified School District's new curriculum to combat bullying. Griff Jenkins was there when the final decision happened. He joins us from San Francisco. Good morning to you, Griff.
Hey, Steve, good morning. You're right. The Alameda Unified Schools Board was voting on an addition to their current curriculum in an anti-bullying effort. It's called the LGBT, the Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Lesson Number 9. Now, passions were running high, excuse me, Steve, because they met to discuss it on May 12th, and it overflowed. People were yelling and shouting, and so they had to break it up, have a second meeting on May 18th, and then last night was the actual vote. People turned out. It was a little more than 50, about 60-40. Opponents are the 60. Now, what are they upset about? They're upset about the things in the curriculum.
He said the opponents were the 60% of people.
Reduce these gay and lesbian elements, and what specifically opponents say they're upset about is that it's not age appropriate for K through 5. Now, before the vote occurred, there are 5 members on the board. One person chosen to speak, Pastor Dion Evans, gave his word. Here's what he had to say.
Action cannot, in this circumstance, be the product of political gaming, plantation politics, nor prejudice. If, in defiance of sound reason and fairness to all students and parents, this curriculum is adopted tonight, it will cause a strong reaction. Instead of bringing us together and healing divisions, it will cause even greater division, alienation, and suspicion.
Steve, opponents say that they see this as an effort to advance the gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender lifestyle under the guise of an anti-bullying effort. Right. Now, this all goes back to the California Safe Schools and Safe Student and Violence Prevention Act of 2000 that says that students cannot be discriminated against based on their gender identity, or sexual orientation. But in speaking to folks after, and the vote, of course, as you saw there, was 3-2. Talking to opponents last night, they said their next step is to try and get a recall of board members and bring it up again. And quickly, this book, which is introduced in the 2nd grade, and Tango makes 3, is the story of 2 gay penguins that raise a young penguin.
Now.
Grade 3.
About 2
grade 3.
So
people crazy, man.
But let's go back to what Aaron Russo said.
Mm-hmm.
And how he talked about how the idea was to get the mother out of the home so that they could indoctrinate the children. And that's why they have so many early childhood education programs coming out, so that they can indoctrinate your child at an early age. Put these ideas in their heads at an early age. I always go back to what Malcolm said. When Malcolm said, when you put the education of your children in the hands of your enemy, your children will become your enemy. I'm not saying the white man is your enemy. No, I'm saying the system. This system is our enemy. Because it's a shaitanic system. Okay? These are the ideas that Shaitan is putting forth through the masses. Okay? Now watch. I want you to see this.
I was livid. I was speechless. I called the school.
Now this is about older kids, okay? But I want you to hear what they said in this story.
Local parents are outraged tonight over the pictures that their children saw in sex ed class at school. So they called Team 10. Some of the images that you are about to see are graphic.
Investigator Melissa Masiha shows us why the healthcare group, or the health group in charge of the presentation, says it's not their fault.
I got a copy of the presentation, and I can tell you some of the parents still furious over it. One parent told me it's not so much the information in here, but some of the images that were shown.
These are black and white photos of part of the sex ed presentation Wednesday at Pine Valley Middle School in Pine Valley. It says top conception myths and talks about douching with...
Now, middle school is what grade?
7, 8, 9.
6 to 8. 6 to 8, right? All right, but now listen to what man taught to them.
This one shows a man on all fours with a woman standing on him saying girl on top can still get pregnant. But this one enraged parents the most. The slide also focused on conception myths, then showed this. The caption, a real man loves his woman every day of the month.
Do you hear that?
Disgusting.
Do you hear that? The perversions? This is sick. But this is what they're putting into the minds of our children. Because we've allowed somebody else to dictate to us what we teach our kids. They're teaching our kids whatever they want to teach them.
Or the photo.
This is horrific. This is unacceptable material.
This parent didn't want to be identified. She said when her son showed her the presentation.
Most of the slides looked okay.
But then she saw the photos.
That's something you can't unsee. This is definitely more than R-rated. This is X-rated.
The presentation was organized by Mountain Empire Family Medicine. The CEO issued Team 10 a statement. It says in part, all information was pre-screened by the district and approved prior to presentation.
Do you hear that?
I also visited the Mountain Empire School District in Campo. The superintendent said curriculum is approved through the Pupil Services Department. She wouldn't go on camera either, but part of Dr. Kathy Granger's statement says, we will continue to review materials and collaborate with Mountain Health to ensure that the instruction that is delivered is age appropriate. Have you talked to any parents that have no problem with it?
No, everybody I've spoke to is livid.
The district has met with several parents. One parent told me sex ed was canceled Thursday. Dr. Granger said the presentation has already been, quote, modified. For Team 10, I'm investigator Melissa Masiha.
This video is too explicit for us to show you more than a few seconds.
Use a new condom every time you have sex.
But it's intended for children. Part of a new campaign by Philadelphia's health department provides free condoms.
Is this the flyer? Is this?
Yeah.
All right. This is this, right? Okay. Let me read the back of it to you. It says, did you know Philadelphia has its own condom? The Freedom Condom. You can get free condoms at over 100 walk-in sites in Philadelphia or through the mail. If you are between the ages of what? What do you think?
You already told us, man.
Yeah. Let's see the people that weren't here last time.
18 to 24.
18 to 24? Okay.
16 to 21.
1621. Okay. Anybody else would guess? All right. 11 and 19. 11 and 19. Okay? They are passing out condoms to children of this age. And they can go into, over, they said, 100 walk-in sites and get condoms. Or they can order them through the mail. And this is without parental consent. Without parental consent. Okay? Here's another thing. This is what they're giving them. Flavored condoms. Oh, I'm serious. Mint chocolate, bubble gum, banana split, island punch.
None of them.
Okay? So, they're promoting sex. They're promoting sex to our children. They want them to go out and have sex. Okay? And one thing is, that can be big business. Because if you get unwanted pregnancy, that child's going to go and do what? Go out and get a what? An abortion. Okay? Okay? But now let me... Oh, wait a minute. Who thinks they heard the worst of it? Who thinks it can't get no darker than this? Oh, yes it can. Watch this.
Instructions for kids as young.
If you are now or have ever been a parent,
I had this video years ago. All right, this is what he says.
You know just how impressionable and fickle they can be. Keep that in mind as we tell you about a shocking new policy in one western state that would allow 15-year-olds to have sex change procedures done without parents even knowing about it. Here's correspondent Dan Springer in Oregon.
15-year-olds in Oregon can't smoke, give blood, or get a tattoo, but now they can get drugs to suppress puberty and even a sex change operation without their parents' consent, and the government will pay for it.
It is trespassing on the hearts, the minds, and the bodies of our children. They're our children. And for a decision, a life-altering decision like that to be done unbeknownst to a parent or a guardian it's mind-boggling.
The decision was made by Oregon's Health Evidence Review Commission, or HERC. With no public debate, it began covering cross-sex hormones, puberty-suppressing drugs, and sex reassignment surgeries for Medicaid enrollees in January. A transgender activist says not requiring parental permission will save lives through suicide prevention.
Parents may not be supportive. They may not be in an environment where they feel the parent will affirm their identity.
The American Psychiatric Association classifies gender dysphoria as a mental disorder. A 2008 study concluded most children with gender dysphoria grow out of it after puberty. Johns Hopkins University was the first U.S. medical center to perform sex change operations, but stopped after studying the outcomes. Its longtime director of psychiatry calls Oregon's policy child abuse.
We have a very radical and even mutilating treatment being offered to children without any evidence that the long-term outcome of this sort would be good.
We tried repeatedly to get an Oregon Health Authority official on camera to explain and defend the sex change policy, but they kept putting up roadblocks. In fact, one spokeswoman even lied to us about the medical director's work schedule. We eventually found her. Hey, Dr. Smits? Can I ask a couple questions? The Oregon Health Authority can't say how many children have been treated by the state for gender dysphoria since January. HERC estimates it will lead to one less suicide attempt a year and cost about $150,000. In Salem, Dan Springer, Fox News.
He says this must be stopped, and stop right now. Wake up, America. It is your duty and your right to fight and end this tyranny and destruction perpetrated against our children and family. But now, let's go back to the thing where they talk about the 11-year-olds, right? What is the age of consent in Pennsylvania? All right, the age of consent is 16, right? But now you're talking about all the way to 11. What's going on with that? That's trying to normalize it to you that being able to see 11-year-olds having sex. That's crazy. It's crazy. All right. But now I want you to see this, because you heard the lady say, these are our this is my child, right? But then watch this.
We have never invested.
This was a commercial that was going on a while ago from the state that talks about. Watch this.
Education as we should have, because we've always had kind of a private notion of children. Your kid is yours and totally your responsibility. We haven't had a very collective notion of these are our children. So part of it is we have to break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families, and recognize that kids belong to whole communities. Once it's everybody's responsibility and not just the households, then we start making better investments.
Now you hear this. They're not your kids.
Right.
There they go.
I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course not.
But see, but this is the game. This is what they're doing, and that's why when you go take the child to the doctor can say, "Oh yeah, parent, can you leave the room?" Tell you to leave the room, and they're in there with your child. Doesn't make any sense. Okay? Doesn't make any sense. They could be some kind of pervert or something.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the guy that was molesting the gymnast. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, but we just sit back and agree and just let things go. There's no fight in us, because everybody's like this. Alright? Watching TV. Doing all of those things. And not looking at what's really going on and what's being done. Okay?
Like what you started out with.
Like what I started out. Right. Misdirection.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Excellent point. Misdirection. Alright? But now, let's see, I want you to see.
Town Police Department.
Oh.
Security camera.
Well, I gotta show you this. I gotta show you this. I didn't plan to show you this, but I'm gonna have to show it to you. Police remove sick kids from the home. Watch this.
Officers breaking down the front door of this Chandler family's home. Earlier that day, the family doctor found 2-year-old Heber's temperature to be 105 and instructed his mother, Sarah Beck, to take him.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, I messed up on him. All right, I'll tell you what happened. Family, they took their children, took the child to the doctor. Because he had a high fever. Right? Sound like consistent?
That's not like
No, they can
because I had to see. I'm one of those.
Oh, all right.
Excuse me.
Help me get a
No,
chair.
you're all right.
You can sit right there.
Thank you.
Good. So, they took him to the doctor. He had this high fever. So, the doctor, they told him to take him to the hospital. When they got home, the fever broke and, it went down. They called the cops on the family. And the cops came and kicked their door down and forcibly took the children. Okay? Not even talking to the parents, find out that the fever has subsided and all that stuff. But this is what they did. Okay?